don't think it's very well thought through.
Okay, next question. Let's see. How about right down here in front, please? And hold the mic up to you. I want to hear you.
There we go. Thank you very much. Looking forward to reading the book. Manish Waltherpuri, IANS Research. I would love to hear from each of you the last time you were genuinely surprised. And I don't mean that the percentage was off or it was more likely or less likely, but the scope, scale, or speed of the outcome genuinely changed. You had to go back and revisit the rubric by which you were evaluating, and then what you learned from that. Thank you.
Thanks.
You want to start?
Well, sure. I mean, that's really an easy one for me. I knew that Putin was going to invade Ukraine, and it wasn't going to be a minor incursion, right? It was going to be an honest-to-goodness, full-scale war. I, along with my colleagues, I think across the administration, were convinced that Ukraine would collapse. That as Hitler said at the start of Operation Barbarossa about the Soviet Union, it's a rickety old shack. All we need to do is kick the door in. That's what Putin thought about Ukraine. Everyone thought that Zelensky, at best, was going to be like Dubček, right? And taken to Moscow and re-educated, and then repatriated to Ukraine if he were lucky. More likely than not, he wouldn't survive it. I was really surprised by how the Ukrainian, and Putin said this himself, as I mentioned before in April, how bad the Russians were, the conventional military, and the FSB, and how good the Ukrainians were. And the first time I realized it was a day or two into the so-called special military operation. There's this famous YouTube video of an older Ukrainian woman in a little town just north of Crimea, and the Russians are moving through, combat troops moving through her village. And she walks up to these paratroopers who were kitted out with automatic weapons, and, she's swearing at them in Russian, what the F are you doing in my town? You effing fascists. And she reaches into her pocket, and the sunflower is the Ukrainian flower. She picks a handful of sunflower seeds, holds them in his face, and says, here, put these in your pockets so when you're killed and buried here, something good will come out of it. And I called my colleagues, and I'm like, you got to see this. If this is how the Ukrainians resist, Vova's in trouble.
The Dean?
For me, I have to say it was October 7th. And the reason is, and I was really thinking on October 6th, I had a meeting with an Israeli official who also comes from the Israeli intelligence. And we were talking about the normalization with Saudi Arabia and how, what's going to happen to the Palestinian issue. And that is not going to just be, okay, we just have to live with it. My assessment at the time was that we might be seeing a third intifada coming in the West Bank as a result of that, something like that. It did not occur to me that this would be coming from Hamas, not because you didn't think about the intentions or the capabilities of Hamas to do that, but it was from my assessment at the time was that the Israeli intelligence, based on what I understood or thought that I understood, in terms of the collection of intelligence and their ability to really respond in real time. And that to me was where it was a big surprise in terms of how the intelligence in Israel has been operating, during the years leading to October 7th.
Well, I have to agree with both of them. I mean, I think that I was terrified that Ukraine would fall and thrilled when I saw the resistance and the pushback. I think it was fascinating because, remember, Putin flew to Beijing the week before the invasion, and from what we know and assume, basically told Xi Jinping the same thing. I'll be in Kyiv in a week. We'll have the whole country conquered. And, that was the assessment. And I was surprised at how poorly the Russian military performed. And it just goes to show, do not politicize your military, because you get corruption, you get yes men and women, You get people who forget how to fight because they're too busy looking over their shoulder to see who's going to promote them and take care of them. And that's the story of the Russian military. The second big surprise was October 7th. And what I didn't know is what I learned from Karen, who served in the IDF, served in intelligence. And among the many lessons she had learned was what happened with the Yom Kippur War. You know, Golda Meir's government had an agent inside Sadat's office. And that agent told the Israelis, the Egyptians are going to invade. And the Israelis said, that's ridiculous. You know, they have no air force of any, no, they're not going to invade. Discounted it, underestimated, did not see the enemy as the enemy saw themselves. So with October 7th, there is no doubt that there was a massive intelligence and leadership failure in Israel. And maybe someday, if the war finally stops, we will find out what it was. And just like Golda Meir resigned 6 months after the Yom Kippur War, after that it was resolved, and was held accountable along with her military leadership, somebody needs to be held accountable in Israel as well. But that can't happen until it stops, which, is hopefully going to happen soon. So I think that in real time, those two examples, from my perspective, were very big surprises.
So how about a couple of questions from this side for a change? How about way back there? Yeah, you. You're up. Just identify yourself if you could. Speak into the mic.
Hi, Daniel Dresner, the Fletcher School at Tufts University.